Yes.
Thank you to everyone for attending tonight's meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors. We are in person at the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center, and we welcome members of the public who are attending via Zoom. We appreciate your patience if we have any technical hiccups. We ask speakers to speak loudly and clearly so that the microphones can pick you up and that our online guests, as well as everyone in the room, can hear you well. A couple of technical items before we get to the content of tonight's meeting. Please know that we want to hear from you. Members of the public who are here at the Recreation and Aquatic Center in person, if you would like to speak during public comment for items within the jurisdiction of the board that are not on the agenda or in any of the agendized items, please fill out one of the speaker cards that is at the table near the door. If you are attending on Zoom and you would like to address the board during public comment for items not on the agenda or on any of the agendized items, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once you raise your hand, the executive director will see that someone wants to talk, and she will let you know that you are waiting. When it is your turn to speak, the executive director will call your name and unmute you. If you are joining us by telephone, you may also address the board during public comment by pressing *9, and the executive director will address you and unmute you. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Please note that individuals may only speak once per agendized item. Leslie, are there any emails from the public related to any of the agendized items?
No, we did not receive any.
Excellent. All right, well, let's call this meeting to order. I now call the regular meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors of November 5th to order. Item number 2, I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll call.
Thank you, President Connie Jones. Board Member Belinda Wong.
Here.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Here.
Board Member Jessica Anglima.
Here.
Treasurer Pat Lynn.
Here.
Secretary Raul Gomez is here. Vice President Jim Rowing.
Here.
And President Melissa Natani Jones.
Here.
All here.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, would any members of the public like to address the board on any topic that is within the jurisdiction of the board, but is not on the agenda?
There are no hands raised.
And no hands on via Zoom. Okay, great. We will move on to item number 4, approval of minutes. I'll turn it over to you again, Secretary Gomez.
Thank you. So in your meeting packet tonight, there are minutes from our September 3rd, 2025 special board meeting. Are there any questions with the minutes? I'll turn it back to you. Natani Jones.
Secretary Gomez, roll call vote, please. Oh, sorry. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Anglima.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Lynn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Rowing.
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye. Thank you. Moving to item number 5, Executive Director's Report. And I'll turn it over to Leslie.
Great, thank you. It's great to see everyone here tonight, or one horrible day weather-wise, of course, is the day of our meeting, but we're glad you've all made it. Just want to point out, we don't have mics on the tables today. It's strictly through the owl camera, so please make sure you speak up so that the owl camera will grow. Okay, just wanted to highlight a few things for you today. First off, you all have copies of the annual report. It was mailed out in October to all San Bruno addresses, both residential and business. So that is out, it's on the website. There are more copies if you would like them. If you would like a bigger stack, I can get those to you as well. Community Foundation Week is coming up in November, and as I shared with you before, this year's Silicon Valley Community Foundation has been working with Supervisor Ray Mueller's office to have the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors recognize Community Foundation Week, and that will take place at the Board of Supes November 18th meeting. And they will honor all of the community foundations in the county. Board member Anglima and I will be representing the foundation at that. And we will report back to you on how that goes, but that's a nice little new community outreach event we'll be doing. With regard to the foundation board appointment process, as you know, the terms of 4 of our current board members will conclude at the end of December and all are eligible for reappointment. The city clerk's office put out a call for applications for its normal procedure. The deadline was last Friday, October 31st. The city council will be conducting interviews of the applicants either later in November or early December. And the council plans to make its appointments at its December 9th meeting. The consent calendar does include a resolution appointing 2 members of our board to participate in those interviews, which is part of the city council's process. And as you'll see later in the agenda, the timing of the appointment process is going to affect our election of officers because we only actually have 3 board members who will definitively be on the board in 2026 until those appointments are made. Wanted to give you also an update on the activities of the ad hoc committee on strategic planning. Just briefly, there isn't that much to report. The committee did meet in September, during which it discussed the final legacy projects. A lot of it is sort of waiting for the community partners sort of to move forward with its activities. With regard to the fire station, we are still waiting for the city to progress in its plans. It is in conversation with Caltrans in terms of obtaining the land that it wants for the fire station, and we're continuing to monitor that situation. With regard to the Crestmore Fields, similarly, the city is moving forward in its discussions with Toll Brothers, the developer of the Crestmore Fields project. But that process is going a little bit slower than they expected. They are still working on the contract with Toll Brothers. But they do expect to use, they have a revised estimate of the cost of the lights, but that needs to go through the council first, and they're just not there yet. It's looking likely that will come to us hopefully in January at our January meeting. With regard to the board's interest in supporting a final legacy project to support the public schools, we are still in discussions with the school district and the Education Foundation about what a project might look like. We're also really want to see what those other projects are going to sort of cost out at, because there is a bit of a definitive number of what we've got left. And so none of those decisions will be made in isolation. So we're sort of waiting for the others to progress as well before we bring a recommendation to the board. So it's looking like January is realistically the next time the committee would be coming before. And further updates and possibly a proposal for the board to continue to consider. A couple of other logistical things, just so you know, the Foundation office had been using CityNet services as our phone and internet provider. With the transition to Comcast, I did get an offer from Comcast in terms of cost and everything. It actually was quite a bit higher than what we were currently paying. So I did look at AT&T, which a number of the other businesses in our office complex use, and they were still a little bit higher than what we're currently paying, but definitely lower than what Comcast was offering. And probably for me, the key difference is also AT&T does not require a contract, whereas Comcast does require like a 3-year contract and would have incremental increases for those 3 years, as well as then at the end of that, a substantial jump. So it seemed like AT&T was the better option. So that's what we transitioned to last week. And it was a very seamless transition. Everything seems to be fine with that. And then last, I just wanted to give you an update on the potential Comcast donations. So back in June, the board passed a resolution authorizing the executive director to accept a purpose restricted donation for digital skills programming in San Bruno and technology upgrades at community facilities in San Bruno, because we anticipated Comcast making a donation for those purposes. Comcast has had a change in their plans and procedures. They will be funding those projects directly through the city and other community partners, and so they will not be using us as a vehicle to bring those projects to San Bruno. They still have plans to do the projects, it just, the money won't be coming to us, so just wanted to give you that update. That is my report.
Great. Are there any questions from the public?
Don't see any hands raised.
Any questions from the board? Okay. That concludes the executive director's report. Thank you so much, Leslie. Item number 6, consent calendar. We have 2 items on the consent calendar today as listed in the agenda. A, adoption resolution appointing board representatives to participate in the San Bruno City Council's SBCF board appointment interview process, and B, receive and approve treasurer's report, August and September 2025 financial statements. Would any members of the public like to comment on the consent items?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Unless there are any questions from the board, I call for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, so fast. Okay, I'll turn it over to you, Secretary Gomez, for a roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Nguema.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Glenn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Rowan.
Aye.
And President Melissa Antoni Jones.
Aye,
All ayes.
thank you. Item number 7, conduct of business. Secretary Gomez is the chair of the audit committee and will be introducing this report. To receive report from audit committee and presentation from Novogradac and Company LLP regarding the San Bruno Community Foundation's audited financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2025. Adopt resolution approving the foundation's audited financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2025, and discuss foundation's annual federal and state tax returns. I will turn this over to you, to Secretary Gomez.
Thank you, President Antoni Jones. Earlier this year, the board approved engagement with Novogradac and Company to conduct the annual audit of the foundation's financial statements and prepare the foundation's federal and state tax returns for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. In July, account consultant Frank Bittner and executive director Leslie Hadamia began preparing the financial reports and documentation for the audit, submitting all of the requested materials by August 27th. The Novogradac team, which was again headed by partner Lance Smith and staffed by a new set of accountants per our request, examined the foundation's financial records, accounts, business transactions, accounting practices, and internal controls. Leslie and Frank responded to several follow-up requests for additional information from the Novogradac team. On October 22nd, the audit committee consisting of myself, Vice President Jim Rowan, we met to discuss the audited financial statements of the Novogradac team. By resolution, the committee accepted the audited financial statements. Following the meeting, the Novogradac team produced the final audit report and AUC 260 letter, which are in your meeting packet. The Novogradac team also prepared the foundation's federal, state, and tax returns, and the current draft of which Leslie and Frank have reviewed and has been distributed to the board. The plan is to finalize and submit by the end of the November 15th deadline. You'll have an opportunity to ask any questions about the tax return after our auditor's presentation. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Lance Smith, who will walk the board through our audited financial statements. Lance?
Thank you. But first, I want to say, great facility. Jim, thank you for the tour that I was able to get, and be able to see the great location you have. Great opportunity to be able to do this. Obviously, unfortunate circumstances to get the funding for it, but great result for you. So good job. So we also want to thank Leslie and also Frank Bitter for the work they provided and helping me to get the information that I needed to be comfortable to be able to give you a clean opinion on the financial statements, which have been able to do so. So, I'm an accountant, so financial statements are always kind of more exciting than I understand than the rest of the general public. But I do think that there is a story that can be told in there. It's a matter of trying to find the story and how that works. So the financial story, so let's go ahead, we'll go to the statement of financial position. I just want to point out three particular items on there, very big. Three items of significance, I think we'll note on here, the investments line. There's an increase from the prior year of 1.6 million. The accrued grant line increased by 5 million. And then the board designated funds, I'll come back to that in just a moment, of that particular change. But regarding the investment and the accrued grants, the increase for that can be seen, explained by looking at the statement of activities, which is the next page. I will say that investments actually increased 3 million, investment income was about $3 million, which is comparable to the prior year. And your grants, which might be seen on the next page, the functional expense, there's a lot of digging down into the details here, increased from the prior year of $6 million. So you think you did, which then, as you see, going back to the statement of activities. Thank you, Leslie, for navigating there. You'll see the end change in net assets, you actually had a decrease in net assets of $3.7 million. And that's because you've got 3 million in and 5 million out, but it kind of, as the main numbers driving that, that leaves you in a shortfall. But on a cash perspective, you've got $5 million of increase in that, those grants that haven't been paid out. So the end result nets out to about $1.3 million increase in net assets if you exclude the grants not paid. So 1.3, that's close to $1.6 million of investment income. So, it's a lot driven by cash timing on the results of that. So the third, last item I wanted to reference is that statement of, going back to the statement of financial position. You'll see the bottom there is the net assets, a little lower. You see it's changed from the board designated prior year is $23 million. Now those funds have all been shifted over to non-designated, and that was the board decision to refocus the funds for your strategic purposes in what your mission is for the foundation. So there's the main highlights I had of the financial statements of what's going on. I also issued our management letter, the 260 letter that Roel had referenced. In that letter is a feedback on what significant items we had with the audit. And we noted that there were no significant issues with management and or with being able to perform our audit procedures. Happy to take any questions regarding the financial statements or a process of the legal opinion.
Are there any questions from the public?
There are no hands raised.
Any questions from the board? Yeah. Okay. Well, there are no questions. May I call for a motion to adopt the resolution approving the foundation's audited financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2025?
Second.
Great. I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll call vote, please.
President Donnie Jones. Board Member Melinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Nklima.
Aye.
Treasurer Pac Lynn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane. Aye. And President Melissa Natanya Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Okay, thank you so much.
And you had a question on the 990 as well?
For the
Address that?
Yeah.
I think if you had left open the opportunity to ask any questions on the 990, so just to clarify that you wanted.
Thank you.
Questions on it.
Thank you.
It's a long version of the financial statements.
Thank
Thank you.
you so much, man.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along to item B, receive report on programs, strategic grants, Crestmore Scholarship, Community Grants Fund. I'll turn it over to you, Leslie, for that.
Thank you. Brief update on all of our different program areas. In terms of strategic grants, the board received a very thorough presentations at the last meeting on all of our active strategic grants. So there isn't that much to report since then, but just did want to highlight a few things. The San Bruno Education Foundation submitted the required documentation supporting expenses occurred on the Bel Air Elementary School field in mid-September. And we made the final $9,510 grant payment on that grant. So the entire $150,000 on that grant has been dispersed. And the final grant report for the grant is due at the end of January. So that grant is moving along quite well. The city of San Bruno submitted the quarterly grant report for the Crestmore Fields Project grant in early October, documenting about $10,000 in expenses for the quarter that concluded on September 30th. This is a grant similar to the RAC grants where they make quarterly reports. And on the basis of that, then we would make payment. However, the grant agreement did set forth certain requirements that payment was contingent on, including, the city council approving the final budget and all the other funding necessary to do the project. That has still not been set. Those 4 requirements have not been satisfied, still needs to go to the council. So we've not paid anything out yet on that grant. And this week, the city and I executed a second amendment to the grant agreement for the downtown beautification grant. The second amendment extends the end of the grant period from December 31st to May 31st of 2026. The city does not expect to complete all of the planter and irrigation work until the spring. So it may get done before the end of May, but we wanted to not have to amend it yet again. So we gave it plenty of time to get done in the first half of 2026. And that is a grant where they will do a report at the end of documenting all expenses and we'll make one payment. So we have not paid anything out on that grant yet. In terms of the Crestmore Scholarship, we have distributed all of this year's scholarship payments to all active 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025 Crestmore Scholars. So we're basically done. There are still 4 scholars from the 2020, 21, and 22 cycles who have declined to seek payment in previous years and are still a little in limbo in terms of what they are doing in their educational journeys and have not provided documentation for this year's scholarships. So they're just sort of on hold right now. I have given them all notice that we are closing down the program, and if we don't hear from them, some level of update of what they're doing, at some point we are going to write off the remaining obligation. Because right now they're sitting as liabilities on our books. And as you know, normally we would be in preparation to launch next year's scholarship process, since we won't be offering it this year. Instead, I am fielding questions about it that are coming in. With regard to the Community Grants Fund, the grant period for our final set of community grants ends at the end of this year. The grant reports will be due at the beginning of March. So those are all in progress. We've recently amended the grant agreements for 2 community grants. In October, we amended the grant agreement for the most recent grant to Cora, Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse, to expand the grant purposes. Cora staff proactively came to me and said that they didn't think they would likely expend the full amount of the $10,000 grant to support San Bruno survivors of intimate partner abuse through their safe house and supportive housing program. Because it really just depends on what clients come to them. So as a result, we expanded the grant purposes so that they could use the remaining, I believe it's like $2,000 or $3,000 to provide support services to San Bruno clients through their family-centered mental health, legal services, and/or crisis support services in addition to the safe housing and supportive housing program. Or to clients who serve at their new satellite location at Bel Air Elementary School. So they are now operating actually a satellite site there. So they will all be targeted to San Bruno residents, being covered by one of those programs. Also, last month, we amended the grant agreement for the 2021-2022 community grant to the city of San Bruno for their drug education program. We previously amended the grant agreement twice, extending the grant period, and then extending the grant purposes to allow for not just the drug education program, but the grant funds to be used to purchase Narcan to be supplied at the San Bruno Park School District schools. When we contacted the new police chief about getting the grant report, he reported the department spent all but about $2,500 of the grant fund, and after a back and forth, they did say that they could use this year the remaining grant funds. So we again extended it to the end of this year, so that they could use the remaining $2,500. So those amendments were made. And as you know, we are not offering the program again this year, so we will not have a large December board meeting as we typically do because of that. And that's my report.
Are there any questions from the public?
No hand.
Any questions from the board?
But when are we expecting the next report on the start of activities for the back?
We get annual reports from them at this point, so we received it in September. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm in constant conversation with them about how they're using the funds. If it seems appropriate, we could have them come back in the spring and not wait a full year, but we'll see how that goes.
Any other, go ahead.
For the scholarship, but I want to take the update on that, but just wanted to ask, do you have a guesstimate if those students should not actually receive their degree, how much the community foundation would receive back?
Well, it's not that we would receive it back because we haven't paid it out yet.
Oh, okay, so it'd just be
It'd just be a liability that we would write.
So, okay.
I don't know what the exact total is with most of the students. I think only had received 1 year of scholarship funds.
And the last thing is just a comment is that on social media, I've seen positive notes about the community or from the community foundation about the park and for the work that is being done on San Diego Avenue. So
Right.
I just wanted to share that. Again, people are excited about the good work being done downtown.
Right.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, unless there's no further comments from the board, that concludes the report on other programs. Thank you so much, Leslie. Item C, discuss upcoming officer elections for 2026 term. Under our officer elections process, we agendize the subject of officer elections prior to taking nominations and holding the election to allow for the board discussion on this topic. I'll open the floor now for any comments from any of my colleagues who would like to speak.
We appreciate the current officers and serving there.
Can you make sure you speak up?
Okay, are there any questions from the public regarding this officer elections for this term?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Unless there are no other further comments from the board, that concludes the discussion on officer elections. Moving on to D, elect officers for 2026 president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. The foundation's bylaws call for an annual election of president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, whose terms start on January 1st. In 2016, the board adopted principles and process which govern the foundation's election of officers. Under this process, officer elections are held no later than the board's regular November meeting, so that per the bylaws, the San Bruno City Council can consider and approve the officers by December 31st. Following the adopted process, I will be calling for nominations in the following order: President, Vice President, Secretary, and then Treasurer. Is there any discussion before I call for nominations? Are there any comments from the public?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. I call for nominations for president.
Through the chair, I'd like to nominate Melissa Natani Jones for the office of president.
Be the second.
Second.
Okay. I will turn it over to Secretary Gomez for a roll call vote.
Board member Belinda Wong,
Aye.
board member Supriya Perry,
Aye.
board member Jessica Nguema,
Aye.
treasurer Pat Lynn,
Aye.
secretary Raul Gomez is an aye, vice president Jim Ruane,
Aye.
and president Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever said no? I'm just wondering. Okay, thank you. I will call for nominations for vice president.
Through the chair, I would like to nominate Jim Ruane as vice president.
Second.
Thank you. I will turn it over to you again, Secretary Gomez, for a roll call vote.
Sure thing. Board member Belinda Wong,
Aye.
board member Supriya Perry,
Aye.
board member Jessica Nguema,
Aye.
treasurer Pat Lynn,
Aye.
secretary Raul Gomez is an aye, vice president Jim Ruane,
Sure. Aye.
and president Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye. Excellent, thank you so much. I now call for nomination for secretary.
I nominate Raul Gomez.
I second. Can I stop? I will turn it over to Secretary Gomez
Thank you
to
again.
give a roll call vote.
Board member Belinda Wong,
Aye.
board member Supriya Perry,
Aye.
board member Jessica Nguema,
Aye.
treasurer Pat Lynn,
Aye.
secretary Raul Gomez, aye. Vice president Jim Ruane,
Aye.
and president Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye. Okay. Congratulations to the three officers that have been approved for this evening. Only three current board members are definitely continuing on the board in 2026, and they have just been elected president, vice president, and secretary. The rest of the board is up for reappointment, and the city council will not make the appointments to fill the 4 open seats until December. As a result, we are not able to elect a treasurer tonight, but we will do so in January once the new board members are seated. In 2026, foundation officers are Melissa Natani Jones, president, Jim Ruane, vice president, and Raul Gomez as secretary, treasurer to be determined. Again, congratulations. Per the bylaws, the San Bruno City Council will consider approving our slate of elected officers at an upcoming meeting. Item number 8, are there any board member comments?
Given we're not having a December, likely not having a December meeting, I would like to say, it's been a pleasure, serving with all of you, and, it's been an honor.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat.
I'd just like to officially say it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you and getting to know you, not only as a board member, but also. So thank you.
Thank you. If I may, through the chair, I'd like to express my appreciation for all you've done, not just as a board member here for the city of San Bruno for many years. You are the one that had the foundational knowledge of a lot of things within this city. And especially when you spoke about a new station committee too, you knew what we needed, and just your expertise and your participation is well valued. Thank you very much.
Through the chair, and I just note, if we don't have a December meeting because we don't have any pressing business, we will recognize Treasurer Lynn for her service to the board in January. So there will be a much more formal way to properly recognize and celebrate Treasurer Lynn.
Cookies.
And I just would also like to just say, happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to all of our board members, as well as our staff, and all of our community, wishing the very best during this holiday season.
And to the chair, I just want to say that, how much I've appreciated serving with, Pat. And also, I think, although we're a little bit lighthearted tonight, it actually speaks volumes to, being a part of this, particular, group of San Bruno, dedicated San Bruno community members. So I think part of our, our vote and the things that we're saying and what we're feeling really goes to the fact that we've been able to work together so well, not always agreeing, but being respectful, and, and approaching what we have debated in a way that really makes me feel honored to have served with all of you, so.
Okay, unless there are any more comments, that concludes that agenda item. And number 9 is adjourning. I'm sorry.
Did you ask for public comment?
Oh, are there any public comments? Thank you.
There are no hands raised.
Thank you, Heather. And thank you, nobody on the line. Okay, now number 9, adjourn. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, December 3rd at 7 p.m. If we do not have any pressing business in December, we may cancel this meeting. And the next regular meeting will be Wednesday, January 7th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Same place, same time. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you.